Hi and welcome to another episode of eCommerce One. And today's guest is Helen Rankin, who's the Managing Director of Cheeky Wipes, a UK e-commerce business Helen has ran for over 13 years here in the UK. How you doing, Helen?
I'm doing really well, thank you, as well as can be expected given lockdown and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the eCommerce One podcast. Looking forward to having a good chat, finding out more about Cheeky Wipes and more about your journey over the last 13 years. That's I guess like in the e-commerce world, 13 years is a long time. You know, a lot of different things you will have seen. So it'd be great, I think, to kick off with a bit about the motivation behind Cheeky Wipes, where it came from, and that journey from sort of pre-13 years to today.
Yeah, sure. So Cheeky Wipes isn't my first online business. So when my husband and I got married, which is about 16 years ago, we went looking for a photo guest book, to have, stick pictures in and get your guests to sign them. And we came across a product in America called the Advocacy album, which was custom made to hold Polaroid pictures. And I thought it was a great idea. You couldn't get them in the UK anywhere. So I approached the lady that makes them in America and said, I'd really love to distribute these in the UK for you, did a business plan and set that up. And at the time I just had a baby, and I was working for Egg, the online credit card company, and it meant that I was commuting backwards and forwards to Derby, which I live in the south coast of England, so that's a fair old commute. And I was sort of looking for something I could do which would give me a better work-life balance, would mean I didn't have to do that commute, mummy guilt, all that sort of thing. So I launched Instant Forever, which is my first business, and it went really well for about 3 years until Polaroid ceased production of Polaroid cameras as they were, and that meant I was having to wind down the business. But obviously I already got into the, I'd set a business up, I knew what I was doing, and I sort of thought, what else could I do? And what I thought about really was, I think they say that necessity is the mother of invention. And that is really true for me. So again, when Archie was born, I was having a flare up of eczema. I've had eczema since I was 5 years old. It never quite grew out of it the way the doctor said that I would. And I was using cloth nappies with him, and I decided I couldn't use disposable wipes. They really, really, really irritated my skin. At that point, I couldn't even put my hands in soapy water. It was really bad. And I started using cloth wipes and went through a process of, okay, well, what do I do to make these cloth wipes easy to use, as convenient as a disposable wipe? What do I do when I'm out and about? How do I make them wash well? And from that, I set up my own system. So it sort of seemed obvious to me that when I was starting to wind down sort of Instant Forever, I was like, well, maybe I could take these wipes that I really enjoy using, and maybe I can make them easy for other people, because my friends are using disposable nappies, but they could still use these wipes. They're better for the environment, there's no nasty chemicals in them, and you'll save yourself a lot of money. So that let me set up then Cheeky Wipes, and had the usual issues with trying to find manufacturers, which is all brand new for me. I'd never done any manufacturing. So that was and continues to be a learning curve. And you learn from your mistakes. So yeah, we set up Cheeky Wipes. It was 12 years ago, about 12 and a half years ago now. So back in October, and I was by that stage I was 37 weeks pregnant with baby number 3.
Oh wow!
So I was quite memorable at trade shows. You've met Vicky Denby, who runs Mummy and Little Me. She was one of my very, very first customers, and I think I stood out for being so heavily pregnant at this stage.
So through necessity and through sort of trying to figure out something really right at the beginning that you could do from home, and like get that balance, that work-life balance, or to have something a bit more on your terms, that initial idea came. And now 13 years later, obviously I know you've got a very successful substantial business. I'm sure it wasn't all plain sailing all the way through 13 years of learning, trying, testing, trying to figure stuff out. You touched on manufacturing there. What advice would you give somebody who's thinking of starting, a business? Because I think obviously there's a lot of experience you've got there from the circa more than 13 years, isn't it? Doing the couple of ventures and obviously Cheeky Wipes now. What advice would you give to the guys there? Maybe listening to the podcast and thinking, well, I'm a bit worried about this and a bit worried about that, and what little gems would you give the listeners?
I think the most important thing is not to be afraid of failure, and turn that on its head and view it as an opportunity to learn and an opportunity to improve. I mean, we've had some, way back when we've had things go wrong. We had this great idea for doing at one stage like a pop top box. The wipes come in reusable plastic boxes, which have now got a nice sturdy clip on them. But at one stage we thought it'd be a really good idea to do a pop top box, which was a great idea, but the mechanisms, it was, like one of those Brabantia bins, and the mechanisms over a period of time rusted and they didn't pop quite as well. Plus it was a domed lid, and our customers came back and went, yeah, well, domed lid is, lovely, but we can't stack them. So for us, we very, very much view the design process as an iterative process. And we've got a really good example of that going on at the minute. So we've just launched nappies, Cheeky Doo-Doo nappies. The name has come about because every baby show we come to, people say, do you do nappies? And we go, no, we don't do nappies. But now we can say Cheeky Doo-Doo nappies. The issue with that is one thing that it's one of our core values, something I feel really, really strongly about, is that we all have to use the products ourselves. So everything that we sell, the wipes, the period pants, the cloth sanitary pads, I don't think you can sell something with integrity unless you use it yourself.
You believe in it?
Yeah, obviously. The problem with that is my babies are no longer babies. My babies are from 16 up to, down to 9. But between myself and Claire, who runs my warehouse, we have, we've got 16 years of cloth nappy experience between us. Yeah. And what we knew the sort of nappy we wanted to use, which was a 2-part nappy. We're both really clear on that because I think they're bomb-proof. We've worked with a lady called Penny Broderick, who set up the UK Cloth Nappy Libraries Network, who has got years of experience with all different styles of nappy. So we've been working on this for 15 months. And rather than go out with a big all singing, all dancing launch, we have done a very small production run of 1,000 sets. We're selling them at just over cost price. But in return for that, we are asking our customers to give us feedback. We've positioned it as, this is a beta run. We think they're great. We want you to help us make them fabulous. And in exchange for your feedback, you're getting them at a really good price. So that's how we work, and we think it works really well.
Yeah. So if you listen to the podcast, think about the products that you're thinking of starting in or manufacturing. You've really got to believe in them. You've got to test them yourselves or your close family, friends, rather than you can have this big disconnect potentially of just, very tunnel vision because you think this product might be quite good, but until you've tested it, tried it, seen get that feedback initially. So that's sort of smaller quantity run. It's funny actually. I was having a conversation with my kids yesterday. We have a lot of conversations about business and business ideas and things like that, which is great. And we're looking at watch straps.
Okay.
And we're sort of saying to the boys about some of the margins that are available on watch straps are really great, and we're really into our watches as a family, or me and the boys are. And we found some sources for watch straps yesterday, on the various sources online. The idea is we're gonna probably, I'm pretty sure we're going to import sort of 200 or 300 samples. Yeah. Obviously, we've got to test them, So not just buying them and just sell them without testing them. So obviously, we want to get some samples, which I think is quite often a lot of people over order initially, and then like actually they're poor quality at the end of the day. Potentially can be quite common, depending on price points and things like that. Yeah. It reminds me of a story of when I used to import products, probably the last container I bought in was probably 12 years ago, I think. But probably about 18 years ago, we created a brand around computer accessories, keyboards, mice, speakers, those sorts of things. And I can't remember exactly why, but we brought in mice. So sort of these, we can see them from here, probably not. But the mice, rather than at the moment they're ballless, they don't really have balls in now, they're optical, but back then they had balls in.
Yeah.
And we brought the mice in, but we shipped the balls separately. I think it was to do with duty, something to do with duty.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly. But when we got them, we had 10,000 mice and 10,000 balls. Yeah, so we had to then physically put them all back into the boxes, which that alone was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it transpired that the balls didn't fit the mice.
Oh no.
So we had 10,000 mice balls, which were literally good for nothing. They were just scrap. And then we had to re-import the mice ball. Oh, it was a complete, it was a nightmare. Now that sounds, I don't think people would make that same mistake now, because that product's been iterated 20 times and you can't buy that. But I think, just having a test run rather than committing to thousands and thousands of, on spend and volume of products till you've tested it. Yeah, I think that's. And
it is that thing of, you will make mistakes, but you will never make that mistake again. And that's the thing, you do, and you learn from your mistakes. And very few people go into setting up their own business and know everything about everything. They'll likely specialize in one area, and mine was more into marketing than that was my background. Yeah. So people will tend to come from, they might have a background in manufacturing or whatever, but you're not going to be good at everything across the board. And most people can't, start and employ people straight up, so you have to get up to speed really quickly, and you will make mistakes. Yeah,
inevitable, isn't it? You just got a damage limitation and try and make them as small as possible potentially. So
I have my what would Sir Alan Sugar do moments. So when something, it's like a variation of what would Jesus do, but it is that when things go really wrong, when the crap really hits the fan, it is okay, what would Sir Alan Sugar do in this moment? And it really works for me, because it allows you to take a step back from that. What have I done? I'm so stupid, to, okay, this is a problem that needs to be solved. What would Sir Alan do? And it gives you that ability just to step back and be a bit more rational.
It's funny, I was listening to an audio book yesterday called "The Obstacle Is the Way," and one of the bits that stood out for me in there was, you've had an idea, you're launching a business, whether it's importing these SKUs, whatever they may be, but you've just been called into the boardroom, boardroom of one or two or however many people, and it's failed. Failed. So it's failed, but you haven't even started. So how has it failed? What could it have failed for? Why has it failed? So you're almost like telling yourself it's failed already, not because you're not going to do it, and trying to then figure out all the areas. So we forgot about the import tax. We forgot about the law around this. We forgot about so all the things that it could have failed for. Why have you been called into the boardroom for failing with that task? I thought that was quite cool. So you're covering that. Yeah, the obstacle is the way.
Yeah, I like that.
So obviously 13 years-ish with the business, obviously, and a few years prior to that, with sort of, test ideas and various other projects. Obviously, a very busy lifestyle. You mentioned that you're obviously four children as well.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people listen to the podcast, and just everybody that's busy more than ever now. I think obviously with people being at home more so. A lot more pressure from probably on the personal side, family side. What advice would you give to people about that sort of work-life balance?
I think I know I will struggle if I don't have time for myself, and whether that is getting out mid-afternoon for a dog walk.
Yeah,
I live by the sea. It's beautiful. It's space, and it literally gives me head space. So for me, something like that, or exercise, is actually really important. And I think I'm a better mother and a calmer mother when I have that space.
Yeah.
And then come back and jump back into work, jump back into managing the kids' homeschooling at the minute or whatever. To be fair, I think in our house we call it more forest schooling. It's a little bit more random. So so I think that taking time and I think that's one of the benefits for me of running my own business, is that I can be flexible. I can get up and answer emails early so that I can spend a bit more time with the kids, or that I can do whatever I need to do. And that is a huge plus for me of running my own business.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think the guys that are listening now, you really should have a think about, that. I think there's too much emphasis on, I think you look at social media and I'm always grinding, or whatever the word, all these sort of, like, always be working and always be pushing. It's like, well, no, I agree with you. I think you've got to have this balance and stepping away from that day to day, whether it's, if you live by the sea like Helen, then that's, amazing. It's like my dream sort of thing. Just to have that break, scheduling those breaks, scheduling that downtime, just to get out and about and gives you a bit more time and clarity on things, and you can come back even stronger potentially, rather than just trying to do the 60-70 hour weeks or whatever it may be as a business owner, an e-commerce entrepreneur. It can get a bit much at times. So 13 years, you'll have seen a lot, as we said and we touched on, but amongst those times, no doubt a lot of challenges have come your way. What sort of specific challenges would you say you faced in your business, and how did you overcome them?
So one of the biggest challenges that I've had is actually going from a lifestyle business, which was providing me with a decent income. We had 2 years ago, there was 6 of us running the business. And we've now got 35 on the staff. Wow. And that came about because I was taking the kids away to Centre Parks in Belgium, I think, and we stopped at the Channel Tunnel, as you do, and we went in W. Smith and we're getting books and things. And I was like, well, I've got a bit of time out of work. What do I fancy doing? Oh, I know, I'll read a book about work. So it was Harvard Business Review, but the sort of thing I don't get time to do day in, day out. And it was Harvard Business Review. They had a series of 6 books, and I thought, that looks interesting, I'll pick that up. And because I always find being away from work gives you actually quite often the headspace to think about work, the big picture work, not the daily grind, not the have to get this done, but sort of the big picture stuff for me is much better done away from work. So I picked up these Harvard Business Reviews, and I just was reading things. I thought, actually, I could do more than what I'm doing right now. But I'm aware that I'm not sure where to take it from here and how to make it bigger. So I started working, Claire, who runs my warehouse, I'd already met her uncle on several occasions. He's in his 70s, but comes from a publishing background, had been bought out by part of the Daily Mail group, had also done some sort of venture capital bits and pieces, and had mentored for the Prince's Trust. So already had that background. So I approached him, it'll be 2 years ago in May, and said, right, I really like to scale this business. I don't know how to do that. I could do with a steer, I could do with some direction. Would you be prepared to work with me? And we've spent the last sort of, since then, just working on scalability. So that has its, for me, the biggest challenge in that it was letting go and delegating, because I did so much myself. Not saying that I'm a control freak, but I definitely have got issues.
I can relate to that.
And it's been, that for me has been, I think I find it, once I got into it, I find it easier and easier, but that letting go and relinquishing responsibility, oh my God, I struggled with it. But here we are now, January 2021. I've got a marketing manager, I've got a marketing assistant, people, I've got a PA, and they just help everything flow so much better, and it gives me time to do the real value adding stuff like this, for example. I think that's great. I think too often I think everyone will relate to that. You're trying to do everything. You're the marketeer, the sales, the production, the manufacturing, the website guy, the girl, everything. And I can do it all. Well, hang on. But you can't. Out of those things, there's probably a couple of those things, the vision and the bigger picture is where you need to be.
But the reality is you're down in the trenches, you know, trying to figure out how AdWords works or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Whereas it's then identifying your superpower or two, you know, I think is one of the, is what you're saying. And then, and really just, you know what, trying to find somebody that can help, you know, which I think can be quite a challenge. Obviously, you were very fortunate there that, you know, you've had an amazing experience there and found somebody, and, you know, that was like a friend, family type scenario. But I think that's, you know, great advice, really, really good advice. I think, you know, people that are listening in, whether they're, you know, whether they've just done their first £1 million year or £1 million month, depending on what they want to do, you know, there's a whole other levels, isn't there, that as a business, if you want to go to, if you can get some experience in the business and like a mentor, trusted advisor that can come in with that experience and really just save you a lot of pain potentially and speed up that process because they've been there, they've got the t-shirt, you know. And so something like that, is that something like a monthly type commitment you have with this person? Then
I just ping things back and forwards to him, and then once a month the whole senior management team sit down together and have a review of where we're at with everything. And I think the challenge as well for me in that is the letting go, but also taken the advice that I've been given, because quite often my initial reaction is, no, why would I want to do that? And then I sit with it and I think about it, and I think about it a bit more and think, maybe you have a point, maybe that's quite a good idea. But it's so hard to do that, you know.
I could so relate, and I think a lot of people listening will be like, you know, exactly when somebody says do X, like, no, what? That's crazy. And then that night you're thinking, actually. No. Oh, actually, let me just. Oh, actually, yeah. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, I know.
That's a good idea. Damn it. It wasn't mine, but it's a good idea. Yeah, that's always a tricky one, isn't it? I think. Yeah, and I think, you know, the guys that are listed in, you know, when you start going from that one-man band back bedroom idea, which a lot of people listening to the podcast will be at or gone through, and you go, you make that first hire, then you do your first, whatever it may be, your first 10 grand, 100 grand, million, whatever it may be, you know, there's points where you've got to step back and have that mindset of where you need help at the end of the day, you know, as you make some very expensive mistakes along the way. So we very rarely interview an e-commerce store owner without asking them about their most successful sort of online marketing activity. What sort of advice would you give there? What's been really good for you on the sort of online marketing side?
Well, we've got various things. So our social media paid advertising does really well. Facebook, Instagram. And I think that's because the products that we sell are very much, people hear about them through word of mouth and that sort of thing. So that whole social element really, really works well for us. And I think that's probably our biggest revenue driver. Then aligned with that is all the work that my team do in the social media posts themselves. So, you know, we find that giveaways work really, really well for us. I think our giveaways get, you know, well over 1,000 interactions every time we run them. We do them every Friday. And I know that we've just put Linktree on our social media, which means we can put one link on our bio that then takes people to basically a Linktree that can steer them to the right place that depending on what they're looking for, which is something that's been really useful for us. But pay-per-click also does well. But for us, paid social is our actual,
paid socials. Yeah. So with paid social, then I know TikTok. What would you say about that? Has that generated any results for you specifically?
Interesting, because we have we've literally just started on TikTok within the last month, and we are getting, you know, it's still very, very small compared to Facebook and Instagram, where we've got, you know, I think we've got well over 50,000 followers on Facebook and Instagram, but on TikTok we're still in the very, very, I think Izzy's been doing it for the last month, but what she's found has really worked well for us is product reviews and sort of more instructional videos. And she did a really good one of how to fit a baby nappy, which again linked into these new nappies. But yeah, we're literally just getting off the ground with that. It's very, very new for us.
Early days, yeah. I think that's seems to be the consensus overall. I'll have to get you back on maybe in 6-12 months and do a TikTok episode maybe, or
yeah. And Izzy's right on it. She's our new marketing exec, and she's she's in her early 20s, so it's much more her thing than my thing. I'm having to get my daughter, who's 12, to show me TikTok. I don't know how it works. So yeah, it's definitely more of a young people thing. This makes me sound really old, but yeah.
I feel your pain. Yeah, it's the same, exactly. Yeah, similar to our agency and my children scenario. Yeah, my son. I'll say, oh, I saw this video yesterday, and I will have seen it on Instagram, but he was obviously seeing the same one on TikTok. He says, "What?" He says, "Dad, what are you doing on TikTok?" I said, "I'm not on TikTok." I said, "I'm watching it on Instagram."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously tried a lot of things over the years. In the marketing sphere, in new product testing and various other things. But what would you say is one project? Not every project is a success. I think and I think it's something that's good to talk about, because I think typically, the people that are listening in, that wherever they are in their journey, especially at the beginning of their journey, you can be quite afraid, or you can take a situation that maybe doesn't quite go to plan, and it can really derail you. But the reality of life is, things do go wrong. What would be one sort of project that was challenging for you, maybe a waste of time?
I've probably got a couple. So we had one that way back when we had one set of wipes come in, and the overlocking hadn't been finished quite at the edge. 100,000 wipes, and we had to get them re-overlocked in the UK. One wipe at a time, because there's no point. It would have cost us more to ship them back to have them finish the edging.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. The other thing, we launched muslins, and again, this is coming back to what you were saying earlier on about doing small production runs. We decided that muslins would fit well with our range, and in theory they should fit well with our range, and we wanted them to be multicolored, because quite often muslins are sort of a bit there, and we got these lovely rainbow muslins created, and 100,000 of them, and they just, we did sell them all eventually, but they didn't sell anywhere near the way that we thought they were going to sell, and we had 100,000 of them.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So that alone, it's like, okay, we don't do anything in that sort of volume going forward, but we were so certain that it would fit really well with our product range, but they just didn't fly.
So that quality control piece, I think the guys that are listening in, it's easier said than done, because you might get a set, one of the things, unfortunately, is that you sent a sample that is, a star, but then when you commit the deposit and you commit to the 100,000 of whatever it may be, when they arrive and you've paid that final, obviously that's the whole other discussion around terms, but when that 100,000 appear and you open that first box and think, they're not quite like the samples we got, or maybe we missed it on the first QC check at the front end, and they are the same, and we've got now stuck with 100,000 of something that's now going to cost us money potentially, or definitely going to cost us money to rectify. So it happens to all of us. It can do.
Of course. And again, as I said earlier, it's a learning experience, so it's what you take from that, and you don't do it again, which
yeah. So back to the marketing piece then. Influencer marketing. Do you do it? Does it work? What would you say to the people listening if they're looking at maybe getting started with influencer marketing or progressing their influencer marketing?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. As a business, we don't do really paid for influencer marketing. Yep. It doesn't sit well with us. We are honest, and we have integrity in, and that's really one of our core values. So paying somebody who hasn't used our products to talk about them just doesn't sit well with us. In saying that, we've had some amazing influencer posts. Part-time working mummy is one who really supports our products, loves our products. She did a fantastic a story on period pants and why you should use them and why they weren't something to be scared of. And she was so honest. It was brilliant. And we had a huge spike in traffic from that, which was great. And it wasn't paid for. It was her actually using the products herself. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. And of course you get all the, the mummy bloggers who, have got 12 followers and want some freebies and things like that. And it's written them out as well.
Yeah. So your take on it is really, working with people that are passionate about the niche or their followers, and they're doing a genuine, review or a genuine content around the product rather than saying something positive because they've been paid to do that. So I think that. I think that'll resonate with a lot of listeners, because most businesses obviously want to, they genuinely want, genuine, genuine content out there, genuine feedback, genuine social media presence that's genuine ultimately, rather than something that's just been created because you pay them whatever it may be. So I think the advice there would be, obviously that's up to the individual brand. But I mean, I completely agree with Helen. From my personal opinion, you want to be associated people that fit your culture as a business, your culture as the business owner, leader. That you want to be doing this a long time, and usually things that last a long time, I think, roots down to those sort of core values and culture within the business, and they align with your team all the way through. And then you attract similar people as customers potentially.
Yeah, there's a lot. Authenticity and integrity is really important for us, and that goes right across the board.
Yeah, great. So obviously 13 years. I keep saying that. I know you said 12 and a half years, but I'm going with the 13 years. 13 years. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of orders coming through the business. How do you increase engagement with that existing customer base? Or is there any tips you would give, to sort of maximize the lifetime value of clients? And obviously that's a long time. It's almost like dog years. It's like 70 years in there. Yeah.
And what's fantastic is that we have customers who bought the baby wipes kit back in 12 years ago, who are now buying our welcome to your period kit for the baby that was born there, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I think because the wipes kit, when we launched 12 years ago, we were an outlier. The war on plastic wasn't a thing. Blue Planet wasn't a thing. People were not aware of the plastic in wipes and the plastic pollution problem that we've got. So we were an outlier, and the people who bought into the product loved it. And in that way, they became advocates. So we do really well with customer referrals. We've got the Mention Me referral program up, which I have to say I would recommend to anyone. Absolutely fantastic team over there. And really easy integration, and they're great. So that customer advocacy is really important to us. And one of the ways that we generate that is our customer services team, led by Joe, are amazing. They go above and beyond to try and resolve any issues, because problems do happen. Royal Mail lose stuff, people get the wrong things sent to them, people make mistakes. But how you turn that around is how you can generate customer advocacy. So our customer service team are brilliant. We also make a point of doing a tailored welcome email to every customer. We've now got the staff, and that's not some Autobot generated thing. This is literally, we employ somebody to do that. Because people will have questions, and it's nice to know that you can actually just reply and go, actually, I'm not sure about this. So that again really drives, and we get amazing, if you look at our Trustpilot scores, we're on 4.9. And that is something that we take really seriously. Every product review that comes in is read by someone, and any negative ones get a personal response from Joe, who manages all the customer services, because stuff does go wrong, and you can't get it right all the time. But we're really proud of that, actually, and I think that advocacy is driven by that experience that people get from us.
I would say pause the podcast right now and just go back 5 minutes and listen to that again, because I think there's some fantastic little gems there. That referral program, but ultimately making sure you are giving the best customer service. You know, I think you said, you know, things do go wrong, and absolutely, of course they do. You know, we make mistakes as businesses every now and then, things out of our control or even in our control. Or, you know, someone has a bad day, you know, the knock-on effects can be, you know, an unhappy customer potentially. But how you deal with that situation, yeah, absolutely, you can have, you know, you can really stand out and end up with a super fan rather than a, you know, an unhappy customer. You can literally turn it around so quick by just, you know, really dealing with that situation if it arises, which it will if you're doing, you know, thousands of orders, you know, for an e-com store. It's inevitable, you know, that, you know, maybe a product was packed wrong, or that it was late, or it was broken, or obviously whatever, it never arrived, whatever it may be. You know, it's an opportunity to get in front of that customer and really show them, you know, that culture ethos of the business of been, you know, real, you know, focused on that customer service, that Trustpilot piece. Obviously, there's other review plugin or other review tools out there, depending on where you are with the business. But yeah, some great takeaways there. So 2021, what would you say the plans are for Cheeky Wipes this year?
Well, we've got sort of fairly ambitious growth targets. We're looking at a 50% uplift. Whether we achieve that or not with COVID, I think COVID is starting furlough and people being laid out of work. I think that is beginning to bite. Yeah. So we are going to hold tight, hold on to our hats, do our best to keep getting the word out there about reusables for the masses, because you know, one of our things is we think that reusable products should be at an accessible price point across the board, and they're not always. So we're going to continue to get that word out there. Our biggest products are period pants, so we're going to really be pushing those. I think there's a massive opportunity on those. And in terms of other sort of projects that we've got on, you know, ongoing projects that every company will have. So we're looking at the brand and how the new products fit within the brand, and there's a bit of branding work going on. There's also we've got a project on about updating our dispatch system, our stock management system, which is looking at a new piece of software, and that, you know, that's not an overnight project either. Yeah. So there's all those sorts of things going on sort of in the background, but yeah, we've got some fairly ambitious growth targets as well. So yeah, watch this space.
50% growth target on turnover for the next 12 months. That's some big growth, isn't it? But I know obviously a lot of things have been accelerated, as we know, in e-com at the moment. So I look forward to touching base with you in January, February 2022, and we'll see how we'll do it. We'll do a version 2. Well, thank you, Helen, so much for being on the podcast. I think there's been some amazing takeaways there. Now, I always like to end every episode with a book recommendation. Anything you like, what would you recommend to our listeners to read?
I've got 3 actually, so I read a lot. So I've got to say, those Harvard Business Review books, you can get them. I think there's one on strategy, change management, essentials, leadership. They're just really good. They're not huge books, but they're just really inspirational, and I find them so anyway. Yeah. Another sort of more factual book is Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Oh. Really fascinating. I love books like this. It's literally about how our brain works, why it's necessary to sleep, you know, how your memory is impacted by sleep. It's fascinating, really interesting.
I'm buying that straight away.
and then for a sort of bit more of I have to read every night to fall asleep. I've done it since I was a child. Yeah. And the best bit of fiction I've read recently is called The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. Absolutely cracking read. It's set in Ireland. And I think every chapter I was either crying with laughter or I was crying because it was so sad, or sometimes in the same chapter. But yeah, don't be put off by the name, but it's a really cracking read. One of the best things I've read in a long time.
Oh wow. Yeah, there'll be a few Amazon purchases happening in it. This but every episode I do is like, yeah, got that one. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think books everywhere. Brilliant. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. For the guys that are listening and want to find out more about yourself, Helen, and the brand, what's the best place for them to go? Where's the best place for them to go?
Sure, it's cheekywipes.com, and yeah, as I said, we do reusable baby wipes, cloth sanitary pads, period pants, and reusable makeup remover pads are sort of core products. Anything reusable. So yeah.
So cheekywipes.com.
Yeah, cheekywipes.com.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on eCommerce One, and I'll speak to you again soon.
All right, take care. Thanks, Richard.